Welcome everyone to today's video. We're the DimitrovBoelee piano duo. My name is Dimitri Dimitrov.
And my name is DimitrovBoelee.
And today we're going to talk about...
crescendos.
Or making the perfect crescendo. Now for those of you who don't know what the crescendo is, you just go a little softer and then you increase and then you increase and now we have the right volume. That's what a crescendo is. Starting very soft and gradually increasing the volume of your playing.
So why did we want to make this video today? Well, we actually see usually students doing one of two things. Either they see the crescendo and they immediately start playing loud and they have nowhere to go. So they have no sound to increase because they already reached their max within a second. Or we see students starting at the very last moment and then you miss the whole point of a crescendo, which is a nice gradual building of tension and volume.
So whenever you're playing a piece of music and you see the sign crescendo or just the letters written crescendo, that doesn't mean start immediately, do it immediately.
Everything in life generally takes time to grow, right? It takes time to accelerate. If you have an animal preparing to run, they don't go from 0 to 60 in 0 seconds, right? It takes time. Also, even with cars, it takes time.
Unless you have a Tesla. And so whenever you see the sign crescendo or the letters crescendo written down in your music, make sure that you don't do it immediately and that you take the time to build. What do we actually want to achieve with a crescendo? We want to build gradually tension in music. We want things to become louder and more exciting or more powerful. That's what we want to do. But if you do it incorrectly, your playing can just sound very loud and very unnatural, and you want to avoid that. So let's see how we're going to accomplish all this with the crescendo.
Honestly, with this little tip that we're gonna give you here in this video, it's very easy from now on to make your crescendo sound amazing. Now let's get to the piano, let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at the Minute Valse, which is Opus 64 number 1 by Chopin. And there's written almost immediately at the beginning a very large crescendo. It spans actually 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, so a 4-bar crescendo. And with this very simple technique, we're gonna make sure that you build not too soon and not too late. And we're going to start very simple. We're gonna start in piano, and our goal is to go to forte. And what we're going to do is we're going to every bar change our dynamics. So in the first bar, we're gonna start with piano. In the second bar, we're going to go to mezzo piano. The third bar, we're going to go to mezzo forte. And that means in the fourth bar, we'll have reached forte, which is a very gradual build. And also it gives you an idea of what dynamic you're reaching when. Okay, so let's try to play this now. I'll start 1 bar earlier just to get into the dynamics of piano. So we're in piano now, we're going to mezzo piano. We're going to mezzo forte, forte. So actually you see in this way, when you plan it out really carefully like that you stay soft a lot longer than you would have expected, right? If you didn't plan it out, you might have started much sooner with your crescendo and reached forte much too soon. You wouldn't have reached forte on the most important note, you would have reached forte much too soon. So actually, when you plan it out, you see that you stay softer for longer than you would have expected. Let's do that one more time now.
Show them what happens when you actually do it too soon.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a great idea. So, if I wouldn't plan it and I see crescendo, well, we don't have a crescendo at the moment now, we just have the dynamics forte. Pretty much all of the bars. So that's what happens when you immediately see the crescendo sign. You have just nowhere to go. So that's the basic idea. And now, as you see, we actually have to see, do we want to start in piano? And especially we have to see what dynamic do we want to reach in our crescendo. And now Dimitar is going to tell you a little more about that.
Hey, before we continue further with the video, if you liked our video, give it a like already and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Now, Elvira said something that I like. You can do the crescendo up till forte in bar 8 and 9, because actually bar 9 is our top. The B flat is when you get to this place. That's the top of the mountain where we wanted to go. And she said you can go to forte. Now, I personally in this piece wouldn't go to forte, I would go to mezzo forte. But then what are you going to do? How are you going to build that? It's very simple. instead of starting from piano, because you have in bar 5 piano, then mezzo piano, mezzo forte and forte, you can just drop the dynamic a little bit lower from the beginning. That means in bar 5, instead of piano, you're going to begin in pianissimo. So you're going to keep it really soft, then you go to piano, mezzo piano, and mezzo forte. That personally, I like this a little bit more. There is no right or wrong, it's just about the character of the piece. This piece is a very light piece. It's a piece that flies very quickly. Yeah, it's just a very light piece. I personally like to keep it off the ground, not to ground it too much, not to put too much weight on it. So in that case, I just wanted to say that you can start, if you have a different preference for dynamics, you can just start even softer and build not so far. But now what's even more important, what I wanted to mention was not so much about the dynamic, that was just an additional idea. What I want to talk about is how can you accomplish that crescendo, because yeah, from one side, when you know that every bar you do a little bit more, that's very helpful and that can help your crescendo a lot. But I thought I'd offer you a little bit more practical tips on how to do that easier. One thing you can do is so simple and so easy that many people forget to do. Simply take a pencil and write down the dynamics in your score, or if you use an iPad or whatever, you know how to do that. Just write down in every bar your dynamics. So for example, bar 5, write down pianissimo or piano, whatever you decided to, from wherever you decided to start, and then write down in every bar your dynamics, the dynamics you want to play. In that way, you're going to remind yourself while you're playing, you're going to see the dynamics and you're not going to forget that it's very important how you build. So that's one tip. Write down in your score the dynamics so you can get reminded. And the second tip I wanted to give you is something that I see in my experience all the time. One of the reasons that people can't produce a good crescendo is because they get too excited.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
They don't control things anymore and they go faster and faster instead of keeping steady, which would be my exact advice. Keep it steady. Do something like this. Now, of course, this is not how the piece is supposed to sound. We know that the piece is, and we want to go faster and faster. But the problem is that when you don't have the skills to do that, you're not only going to not have a good crescendo, but you're going to play everything loud and you're also going to play sloppy. So a lot of bad things are going to happen if you don't know how to practice. You can do the accelerando, you can go faster also, but later, at a later stage. In the beginning, my advice would be that you take the metronome, or without the metronome if you can keep it steady, and just do it like this. You see, I'm not doing any accelerando. I'm keeping everything steady. If you feel that you can't keep steady like this without the metronome, just put the metronome next to you, put it on a very comfortable tempo, approximately this, what I just showed you. And when you hear the metronome, you're not going to rush, you're not going to hurry, and you will be able to actually hear what Elvira said about every bar, starting from piano and gradually increasing your dynamics. And everything is going to work out very well. Not only your crescendo, but also your wrong notes. You're going to be able to play all the time the right notes, and you're going to feel much more confident later on when you do your accelerando. What you have to do is build gradually, every bar different dynamic. That's one. Then after that, write down those dynamics in the sheet music. That's going to help you enormously. Just write them down. Don't try to remember so you can easily play and relax and do everything correctly. And the third thing is, the third advice would be, do it steady. Do it steady. Don't do accelerando. No matter how exciting the piece is, it's just you have to have part of your day, part of your working routine should be just deliberate work, very systematic, very practical. You have to do things that have nothing to do even with the art, sometimes with how beautiful music is supposed to sound, because it's a craft as well, and just enjoy the music after that. So keep it steady, use the metronome, and you will see wonderful results. Well, these were our tips for today, and we know that if you apply them, you will definitely experience having a better crescendo. If you liked our video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. In this way you will support us and help us grow the channel here. You can also follow us on Instagram. We try to upload there very regularly. Thank you so much for watching, for us recording this video, right? It was a great pleasure.
It was a great pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.